Well, my very dear students, intellectual property intellectual property rights is not a new area. IPR began as an important part of an economic system way back in the 17th and 18th centuries itself. We normally say the modern concept of IPR was developed in England in the 17th and 18th centuries. Though the word was in use from the 19th century, giving this particular term, intellectual property rights, in a proper legal framework, began only in the 19th century. And in the 20th century, my very dears, it became a very common term used by all. But the amusing thing, my dear students, is it was only after the passing of the TRIPS, Trade Related Intellectual Property Rights, in 1995 by the World Trade Organization that IPR received the special focus that it has now. So an important year for you, my dears, 1995. Passing of TRIPS, Trade Related Intellectual Property Rights. With the passing of TRIPS, intellectual property rights became a very common term. Now, my dear students, I would like to tell you, first I'll just give you an idea about the technical side, and then I'll give you examples with which you'll be able to understand. IPR consists of four things. One, patents. Two, copyrights. Three, trademarks. Four, trade secrets. IPR consists of these four types: patents, copyrights, trademarks, and trade secrets. So all of you are clear? IPR is of four types. The starting point is patents. പേറ്റന്റ് എടുക്കാന്ന് കേട്ടിട്ടാ നിങ്ങൾ ചിലർ ഓരോ വാക്കുകളൊക്കെ ഉപയോഗിച്ചിട്ട് പറയും ഇത് എന്റെ പേറ്റന്റ് ആണ് കേട്ടോ, നിങ്ങൾക്കത് നിങ്ങളത് ഉപയോഗിക്കാൻ പാടില്ല. Patents. What is the history of patents? Because all these four I'll explain in detail. I think that would be the best thing that can happen today. What is a patent, my dears? Normally, we say that a patent is a right for use. ഒരാള് ഒരു പ്രത്യേക കാര്യം ഇൻവെന്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നു, കണ്ടുപിടിക്കുന്നു, അത് ഉപയോഗിക്കാനുള്ള അയാൾക്ക് നൽകുന്ന അധികാരമാണ് patent. A right granted by the government to an inventor, giving him the ownership right to use his invention. Yes, the ownership right to use the invention. If anybody else uses this invention, he has to pay royalty to the concerned person. If anybody uses the same thing, he has to pay royalty. That's very important. Now, patents were made very popular. Why? When a person is sure that he's going to get a patent, the incentive for invention increases. നമുക്കൊരു പേറ്റന്റ് കിട്ടും എന്നൊരു തീരുമാനം ഉണ്ടായാൽ പുതിയ പുതിയ കണ്ടുപിടുത്തങ്ങൾക്ക് അതൊരു പ്രചോദനമാവും. And this is exactly what happened, my dear students, in the 18th century. That's why I told you in the 17th and 18th centuries itself, intellectual property in the form of patents had commenced. What happened? Something which I could really tell you in a very interesting manner. Well, in the 18th century, we had what was called the agrarian revolution, Karshiga Viplavam. Now, the main crop in England where we had the agrarian revolution was cotton. Cotton ആണ് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ. Cotton seeds. Cotton seeds, there was a bumper crop. Well, my dears, ഈ cotton seeds ഇഷ്ടംപോലെ ഉണ്ട്. അത് ഉപയോഗപ്രദമാണെങ്കിൽ എന്ത് ചെയ്യണം? They have to be converted into thread. Is it not? And what was the method at that time, my dear students? They would cut the seed, take out the cotton, put it in their hands and start doing like this. ഇങ്ങനെ ചെയ്താണ് cotton was converted into thread. Just see the amount of physical labor required. എത്ര ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടായ കാര്യമാണ്. അപ്പോഴാണ് ബമ്പർ ക്രോപ്പ്, കാർഷിക വിപ്ലവം. Hundreds and hundreds of these cotton seeds became available. And the poor farmers, if they had to get any benefit out of it, would have to take the cotton and convert it into thread like this physically. Just think, my dear students. Is it practical? No. And to make matters worse, bumper crop. So what should be done? What could be done? The only way out was we must have a machine which would convert this cotton into thread. ഇപ്പൊ നമ്മൾ ചർക്കയെ പറ്റി പറയുന്നു, അന്ന് ചർക്കയെ പറ്റി ആർക്കും ഐഡിയ ഇല്ല. That led to the great invention of what is called the spinning jenny by Arkwright. Spinning jenny എന്ന ഒരു ഇൻസ്ട്രുമെന്റ് ആർക്രൈറ്റ് എന്ന ഒരു സയന്റിസ്റ്റ്, ഒരു ശാസ്ത്രജ്ഞൻ കണ്ടുപിടിച്ചു. And with the help of the spinning jenny, the entire cotton could be converted into thread within a matter of minutes. Great invention. Now what happened? This invention was being used and thread was being manufactured. But you know, the spinning jenny had to be operated manually. Manually ചെയ്യണം. അതും ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടായി. That was also a problem. So, James Watt, the great scientist, thought, how about making it mechanical? Using power, the power loom, as it is called. He invented the power loom. Now, what was the incentive? Any person who made an invention would be given a patent. And he's the sole, or he has the sole right to use it. Now, if anybody uses it, he will get a royalty. There's a royalty too. So that was what brought about large number of inventions in Britain, which led to, as you all know, my very dears, the Industrial Revolution. Without any hesitation, I can tell you, it was this intellectual property right of a patent which proved to be a great incentive for a large number of scientists to come forward with their inventions. Because every invention was a right for them. And for a particular period of time, they were allowed to make use of this invention. Of course, it is not permanent, my dears. ഒരു ഇൻവെൻഷൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നതിന് പേറ്റന്റ് കുറച്ച് സമയത്തിന്, in India, my dears, it's 5 years. you can use the invention only for 5 years. After 5 years, if some similar invention has taken place, you cannot claim a patent. And generally, a few things which I'm sure you'll be now interested. Now you see, patent on idan. Inventions. Normally, patent is for physical things. Physically, naam കാണുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങൾക്കാണ് patents നമ്മൾ സാധാരണ പറയാം. The patent is associated with certain ownership right of a physical nature. And to grant a patent, the commodity. Now, എപ്പോഴാണ് നമ്മൾ ഒരു വസ്തുവിന് patent എന്നുള്ള ഒരു പദം നൽകുക? When will it give us the title patent? Now, it's very important. One, the invention should be new. It should be new. One. Secondly, it should not have been done by somebody else. വേറെ ആരും ഇതുമായിട്ട് ഒരു വിധത്തിലും ഒരു താരതമ്യപ്പെടുത്താൻ പറ്റാത്ത ഒരു കാര്യമായിരിക്കണം. That which is not comparable. One, it should be new. Two, it should not be comparable with something already existing. And three, it should have industrial applicability. വ്യാവസായികമായി ഉപയോഗപ്രദമായിരിക്കണം. It should be new. It cannot be compared with some other already existing invention. Three, it should have industrial applicability. ഈ മൂന്ന് കാര്യങ്ങളായിരുന്നു ഏറ്റവും പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട വിശേഷങ്ങൾ to qualify a particular product to gain the term patent. So this was how patents came into being. As I told you, my dears, 17th, 18th, 19th centuries, it was a time of patents. All inventions, all major, I should say, instruments that were all found out were patented. And it should be a very important point, my very dear students, to know, to enrich knowledge, it is an obligation for patent owners to disclose valuable information about their invention to the public. You must inform the public that what efforts you put in for this invention. That's very important. വെറുതെ ഒരു ഇൻവെൻഷൻ കഴിഞ്ഞ് ഞാൻ ആരെയും അറിയിക്കില്ല, ഇതെന്റെ സ്വന്തം കാര്യമാണ്. I refuse to tell anybody. It's not permitted. For a commodity to get a patent, why? The ownership right is given to you. But that doesn't mean somebody else cannot use it. Everybody can use it. But those who use it will give you a royalty. He will give you a royalty, no doubt. But so he should be willing to inform others. This is how this particular item was constructed, got ready by me. കൃത്യമായിട്ട് പറയണം. അപ്പൊ എന്ത് പറ്റുന്നു? മറ്റുള്ളവർക്കും ഇതൊരു പ്രചോദനമാവും. I'll give you an example. I'm sure most students these days love to hear about an important point called cars. I know, my dear students, I don't own a car, but I learn a lot about cars from my students, especially youngsters like you. I know you youngsters are thorough with cars. I just have to ask you one question. You will tell me the comparable cars in all the major producers. My example is, the concept of small car, a car for a small family, was evolved and introduced for the first time in India by Maruti Suzuki. They were the company which evolved and developed this small car concept for the first time way back in 1984. I still remember that day in July in 1984, the first Maruti car rolled out of the Gurgaon plant in Haryana. Hundreds of photographers were ready. TV had just started. At that time, we had only Doordarshan. Doordarshan showed it live. And all over India, we were watching the Maruti car rolling out of the Gurgaon plant. That was a small car concept. Maruti had the patent for a small car. That doesn't mean that the small car cannot be used by others. Maruti was told, how did you develop this concept? Maruti shared the secret. Not the say the secret, explain how this was developed. The moment how this was developed, other companies started introducing new cars, small cars. Now you know Maruti is not the only company which has small cars. So many of small cars now. Our Nano is a small car. Things like that. So many. I'm sure if I ask you, my dear students, you will tell me a lot of examples of small cars. See, that's it. The patent for a small car was with Maruti. But Maruti shared this knowledge with everybody. It was new. See, when the new Maruti car, for the first time the Maruti car came, the interesting thing is it was new, something new. Secondly, it was very innovative, something not comparable with the rest, because at that time, those were the days when all of us looked upon cars. Cars should be big. Big. This cute car created a new change in the very attitude of the people towards cars. Got it, my dears? So, the information was shared to everybody. And what was the result? It became very popular. So many companies came forward with small cars. You all know that such a large number of small cars are now available. That's it. So patent, so now I hope I have made clear what this concept of patent is, which is one of the most, I should say, starting point of intellectual property rights. The first property right was a patent. Patent is normally for physical goods. Patent is normally associated with instruments, with firms, with good number of units. That is a patent. They have a patent for this, all these things. Most important, for a unit or for a commodity to qualify as a patent, it should be new. It should not be comparable with any other product, and it should have industrial applicability. Not only that, the person who has the patent should enrich the public with the information as to how he developed this particular item. So this, my very dears, is patents. Now, property rights commenced with patents. It all started with industry design rights, designing machines, and soon they got many interesting things like patents for designs. Each company would have its own patent. Products. Certain companies will have its own product. That product nobody else can take. If you take, you can take, but you have to give a royalty. So this is the first part of intellectual property when we talk of the concept of patents. Now, from patents, let's now move on to copyrights. That's another very interesting area. Copyrights is more interesting, my dears. Copyrights is for non-tangible innovations or inventions, non-tangible. That which cannot be seen, but only can be felt. That is non-tangible. നമുക്ക് പ്രത്യക്ഷത്തിൽ കാണാൻ പറ്റാത്ത വസ്തുക്കളിന്മേലുള്ള ഒരു അധികാരമാണ് കോപ്പിറൈറ്റ്. ഈ കോപ്പിറൈറ്റിന്റെ തുടക്കം എവിടെയാണ്? പുസ്തകങ്ങളായിരുന്നു. In the early part of the 19th century, from there കോപ്പിറൈറ്റ്സിനെ പറ്റി 19th century തന്നെ തുടങ്ങുന്നുണ്ട്. Books used to be published in 3 editions. There were 3 editions by which books were published. One is called deluxe edition. Second is called hardback. We call it hardback edition, or we call it library edition. And the third was called paperback edition. എല്ലാവരും വലിയ കാര്യമായിട്ട് they used to publish books like this. ഇതിനാണ് നമ്മൾ പറയാ deluxe edition. This is a deluxe edition. Got it? Now, deluxe edition, what was the problem? The price was very high. Everybody could not afford deluxe edition. And people wanted to read, and all are not rich to buy deluxe edition. My dears, this is a book which I got free of cost. That's why it is here. I didn't pay for it. I don't think I would have paid for it. I think the price is how much? It is $30, 2,250 rupees. I can't afford it. Not a rich man. I'm a retired pensioner. 2,250 rupees. Can anybody buy it? Not possible. Now, certain smart people, you know what they did? They converted this into paperback. എന്തോന്നാലും ലൈബ്രറി എഡിഷനാണ് പേറ്റന്റ്. പേപ്പർബാക്കിന് പേറ്റന്റോ ഇല്ല. അതൊരു വേറൊരു ടൈപ്പാ. പേപ്പർബാക്ക് ആക്കുമ്പോൾ എന്ത് പറ്റി? പുസ്തകത്തിന്റെ വില it will come down to 10% of the cost. If this is 2,250 rupees, paperback will be only about 200 rupees. And the authors suddenly found that their books, which they had brought out in deluxe edition and in library edition, were converted into paperback and sold right, left, and center under their very nose. അവർക്ക് ഒന്നും ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റിയില്ല. കാരണം ലൈബ്രറി എഡിഷൻ ആണ് അവരുടേത്. their book is library edition. പേപ്പർബാക്കുമ്പോൾ അവർക്ക് എന്തെങ്കിലും അധികാരമുണ്ടോ? ഇല്ല. Library edition, yes, they've got rights. But when it came to paperback, no rights. And in this way, and to make matters worse, every author, when he wrote a book, he will have a library edition. My dear students, I have also written a few books. My first book, I remember, library edition. I was very particular. Not much by Indian standards, or high by Indian standards. I'm talking of 1990s when I wrote a book. But what happened? Very soon, people brought out the paperback edition. Not mine. I'm talking of the good old days. And the poor authors suddenly found that their books, which they had written with so much of pains, converted into library edition, nobody is buying it. എല്ലാവരും പേപ്പർബാക്ക് മേടിക്കണം. പേപ്പർബാക്ക് മേടിച്ചിട്ട് അവർക്ക് എന്തെങ്കിലും ഗുണമുണ്ടോ? അതുമില്ല. This was brought to the notice of the government. Government was very particular about inventions, but government was not taking any interest over things like printing, publishing, and so on. Printing and publishing പറ്റി യാതൊരു താല്പര്യമൊന്നും ഗവൺമെന്റ് എടുത്തിരുന്നില്ല. But when these authors brought this to the notice of the then governments realized that is right. ഇവർ പറയുന്നതിന് ഒരു വിലയുണ്ട്. So they also introduced something similar. We called it copyrights. Copyright, my dear students, is for non-tangible items. Non-tangible means intellectual items. The legal right given to the originator of a work to print, publish, perform, or record literary, artistic, and musical material. All these materials are yours. That's copyright. But copyright was only for books. ഒരാൾ ബുക്ക് പബ്ലിഷ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് അതിന്റെ കോപ്പിറൈറ്റ് ഉണ്ട്. കോപ്പിറൈറ്റ് അർത്ഥം എന്താ? വേറൊരാൾക്ക് അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ പുസ്തകം എന്തെങ്കിലും ഉപയോഗിക്കണമെങ്കിൽ അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ അനുമതി വേണം. The permission of the author is required if another person wants to make use of what is written in this book. That was what was introduced. So mainly for books. Not only that, it became so interesting. Authors of books had complete copyright. And while for a patent, the duration of the patent was a minimum period of say 5 to 10 years. Do you know the duration of the period for a copyright? The duration of a copyright expires 50 to 100 years after the death of the creator. 50 to 100 years after the death of the creator. Now, to give you an interesting example, My Experiments with Truth was written by Mahatma Gandhi way back in 1940. 1940 publish ചെയ്ത പുസ്തകമാണ് My Experiments with Truth. You know, Gandhiji passed away in 1948. For 50 years, 1948 to 1998, nobody could use or make any reference of this book. They could not reprint it. Reprint ചെയ്ത് ആർക്കെങ്കിലും റോയൽറ്റി കൊടുക്കണ്ടേ? ആർക്ക് കൊടുക്കുന്ന റോയൽറ്റി ഗാന്ധിജി പറഞ്ഞിട്ടില്ല. ഇപ്പൊ ഗാന്ധിജി അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് ബില്ലിൽ എഴുതിയിട്ടുണ്ട്, ഈ ഞാൻ എന്റെ പുസ്തകം റീപബ്ലിഷ് ചെയ്താൽ ആരെങ്കിലും റോയൽറ്റി കൊടുക്കാം എന്ന് പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ കുഴപ്പമുണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല. ഗാന്ധിജി നെവർ ഡിഡ് ദാറ്റ്. യു നോ, ഗാന്ധിജീസ് ഡെത്ത് വാസ് സഡൻ. ഇതൊക്കെ ആലോചിക്കുന്നതിന് മുമ്പായിരുന്നു, പെട്ടെന്നായിരുന്നു മഹാത്മാവിന്റെ മരണം. യു നോ, ഇറ്റ് വാസ് ദ സാഡസ്റ്റ് ഡേ India has ever had. I call it the saddest day in the history of India. The day the great Mahatma was assassinated. So the Mahatma passed away in 1948. 50 years, his books could not be reprinted. 1998 ശേഷമാണ് ഈ Experiments with Truth, My Experiments with Truth was reprinted. Because after that, I read that book. അതിന് മുമ്പ് കിട്ടണില്ല, പുസ്തകം കിട്ടണ്ടേ, റീപ്രിന്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല. റീപ്രിന്റ് ചെയ്ത് ആർക്ക് കൊടുക്കും പണം എന്നുള്ള പ്രശ്നം വന്നു. 98 ശേഷം എല്ലാവർക്കും വേണമെങ്കിൽ ചെയ്യാം, ആർക്ക് വേണമെങ്കിലും റീപ്രിന്റ് ചെയ്യാം. ആ റീപ്രിന്റ് ചെയ്ത ആൾക്ക് അതിന്റെ ലാഭം അങ്ങനെയാണ്. സോ ഫോർ 50 years കോപ്പിറൈറ്റിന്റെ റൂൾ ഉണ്ട്. അതായിരുന്നു നടക്കണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ആൻഡ് മൈ ഡിയർ സ്റ്റുഡൻസ്, കോപ്പിറൈറ്റ് വാസ് മെയിൻലി ഫോർ ബുക്സ് ആൻഡ് പബ്ലിക്കേഷൻസ് ഓൺലി, നോട്ട് ഫോർ അതർ തിങ്സ്. It was TRIPS which brought about a total change. In 1995, when TRIPS was passed, trade-related intellectual property rights was passed. It was passed by WTO, World Trade Organization. And you know, my dear students, India is one of the founder members of WTO. 164 countries are members of WTO. ഈ 164 രാജ്യങ്ങൾക്കും ബാധകമായിരുന്ന ഒരു നിയമമായിരുന്നു ട്രിപ്സ്, ട്രേഡ് റിലേറ്റഡ് ഇന്റലക്ച്വൽ പ്രോപ്പർട്ടി റൈറ്റ്സ്. ട്രിപ്സ് എന്നുള്ള ഈ പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ആക്ട് ഇന്ത്യ 1995 മുതൽ അത് പ്രാബല്യത്തിൽ വന്നു. അതോടെ എന്ത് പറ്റി? തിങ്സ് സ്റ്റാർട്ടഡ് ചേഞ്ചിങ്. നൗ, along with printing and publishing, any performance, any film, any literary, artistic, educational or musical material, if they are to be used, person who uses it, if it is used by him commercially, you have to pay a royalty. I'll give you examples to help you. The other day, I was going with my friend in his car. You know, we youngster, as a youngster, I'm more than 60 now. Our greatest, I think many of you also will agree, our greatest hero as a singer is none other than Yeshudas. അപ്പൊ എന്റെ ഫ്രണ്ടിന് അറിയാം എനിക്ക് യേശുദാസിന്റെ പാട്ട് ഭയങ്കര ഇഷ്ടമാണ്. So what did he do? He put a cassette and the songs of Yeshudas started. So I told my friend, oh, thank you for bringing Yeshudas's songs. The person who has rendered those songs has done it very well. So ഫ്രണ്ടിന് ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടത്. അപ്പൊ ഈ പാട്ടാരാ പാടിയത്? പാട്ട് യേശുദാസ് പാടിയത്. യേശുദാസിന്റെ പാട്ടാണ്, പക്ഷെ പാടിയത് യേശുദാസ് അല്ല. Because I know when I hear Yeshudas, I can identify Yeshudas. ഇത് യേശുദാസ് അല്ല പാടിയത്, പാടിയത് വേറെ ആരോ. He said, no, what do you mean? I said, my dear friend, I have been hearing Yeshudas sing songs from 1964. കാരണം 64 മുതലാണ് എനിക്ക് ശരിക്കും യേശുദാസിന്റെ പാട്ട് എൻജോയ് ചെയ്യാൻ എനിക്ക് പ്രായമുള്ളൂ. അന്ന് മുതൽ ഇന്ന് വരെ I am enjoying it. So I can really identify the great man's voice without any problem. Appo he got very angry. He said, no. I said, open the cassette and see for yourself. Cassette തുറന്നു. എഴുതിയിരിക്കുന്നത് എന്താ പറയാ? യേശുദാസ് പാടിയ പാട്ടുകൾ. യേശുദാസ് പാടിയ പാട്ടുകൾ. What does it mean? Was it song? It is a song sung by Yesudas, yes. But it has been sung by somebody else. ഇവരെന്ത് ചെയ്തു? ഈ പാട്ടുകളുടെ കോപ്പിറൈറ്റ് ദാസേട്ടൻ്റെ അടുത്ത് വാങ്ങിച്ചു for a particular price. They paid Dasetan an amount of money, for which he said, okay, I am giving you the right to sing these songs to somebody else. You know, Dasetan has sung more than 1,000 songs. And out of it, I think 95% were great hits. Hit മാത്രമേ ഉണ്ടായിട്ടുള്ളൂ ദാസേട്ടന്. അങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരാളാണ് യേശുദാസ്. See this? So now you cannot sing Yeshudas's song without paying him royalty if it is used for commercial purposes. ഇപ്പൊ നമ്മൾ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ ഇരുന്നിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾ ക്ലാസ് റൂമിൽ ഇരുന്നിട്ട് ഒരു പാട്ട് പാടിയിട്ട് കുഴപ്പമൊന്നുമില്ല. Now you have a music program. നല്ലൊരു മ്യൂസിക് പ്രോഗ്രാം വെച്ചു, കാശ് കൊടുത്ത് ടിക്കറ്റ് കൊടുത്ത് പണം റേസ് ചെയ്തു. And then there is a performance by a number of singers and they all sing the songs of the great man. Now you have collected money for it. The amount you collected, out of which a percentage will have to be paid to Yeshudas. This is copyright. This particular individual, he collected, I think, about 7 songs of Yeshudas. He purchased the copyright. Now those 7 songs are that man's. Now, if anybody wants to do it, he has to take it from him. He has to pay royalty to that individual. I don't know his name, but a very popular singer of these days. That's what I know. പെട്ടെന്ന് പേര് കിട്ടണില്ല, അതുകൊണ്ടാ. 7 നല്ല പാട്ട്, യേശുദാസിന്റെ വളരെ നല്ല 7 പാട്ട്, യേശുദാസ് പാടിയ പാട്ടുകൾ. This is copyright. Copyright means now you have right over literary items. Now, for example, now I write a book. Somebody copies from my book and writes another book. In the 1990s, it has happened. Before the passing of this act, one of my books was thoroughly copied by somebody. I used to feel so bad, but what could we do? But today, there is a law which clearly helps us. Now, the law of the land clearly says, if anybody takes a copy from another book, he has either to get the permission or he has to pay royalty. You know, without doing anything. ഇപ്പൊ ഇങ്ങനെ ഇഷ്ടംപോലെ കമേഴ്ഷ്യൽ പ്രോഗ്രാംസ് നടക്കാറുണ്ട്. എല്ലാ കമേഴ്ഷ്യൽ പ്രോഗ്രാംസ് കഴിയുമ്പോൾ അവര് അതിൻ്റെ ഒരു പെർസെൻറ്റേജ് they send it. Now, my dear students, in our Kerala Fine Arts Hall, there is a Muhammad Rafi night. Muhammad Rafi night, the day the great man passed away. To remember it, I think 31st August, if I remember correct. Every year. Last year it didn't take place because of the pandemic. I think I used to attend every time. And the minimum charge to attend is 500 rupees. 500 രൂപ ടിക്കറ്റ് മേടിക്കണം. എന്നാൽ മാത്രമേ മുഹമ്മദ് റാഫി നൈറ്റ് കേൾക്കാൻ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. And you should have seen the way in which people were rendering the songs of the great man. So beautiful they used to be. Now, what is most important? After the function, whatever money has been collected, a portion of it would be sent to Rafi's family. Rafi's family would get a portion of the profits made by the organization from undertaking Muhammad Rafi night. That's it. This is what we call copyright. This is intellectual property in the form of music, dance. Now, dance also, you cannot copy anybody's dance. You can't do that. If any person has introduced a new type of dance, that thing cannot be copied. Just give you one example. That Mukabala song. Mukabala song. See the way in which it is, entirely different from the usual songs. Have you seen any such song after that? No. Because that is that man's copyright. A.R. Rahman's copyright. That cannot be taken by anybody else. If anybody takes it, they'll have to pay Rahman a huge royalty. So, overall, there is a uniqueness. A uniqueness is protected. Now, നാട്ടുകാർക്ക് ഒരു പുതിയ കാര്യങ്ങൾ കൊണ്ടുവരാനായിട്ടുള്ളൊരു ഉത്തേജകമാണ്. ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് എ റിയൽ ഒരു പുതിയ കാര്യങ്ങൾ കൊണ്ടുവരാൻ ഒരു പ്രചോദനം കിട്ടുന്നു. So that is copyright. So this is the second most part of intellectual property rights. Now, in fact, frankly, my dear students, if you ask me IPR, in this 21st century scenario, the most important are patents and copyrights. The significance of patents and copyrights are uppermost. But when we talk IPR, all types of property rights have to be discussed. The third is trademarks. I think that all of you are quite familiar with. Trademark. Every product now has a trademark. That mark nobody else can in any way copy or even make a diversion about it. Now, our St. Albert's College has got a trademark. You know that. As we enter the institution, the mighty institution, one of the finest institutions in the state, St. Albert's College, in between you've got your emblem. That is trademark. Do you think anybody else can use your emblem? Students will not allow anybody to make use of the emblem which this great institution has. Each institution has its own emblem. Emblem ആണ് ശരിക്കും ഞാൻ ട്രേഡ്മാർക്ക് നടത്തുക. വേറെ ആർക്കും അത് ഉപയോഗിക്കാൻ പാടില്ല. Only you. Emblem for institutions and educational institutions, it's okay. Products. Certain products are associated with their emblems. Haven't you seen that? That's a uniqueness in our care. That is different now. Colgate, for example, red color. With a red color, they've got that the way in which Colgate is written. That's their emblem. Nobody can copy it. They've got their own emblem. Each commodity has its own emblem. That's what we call a trademark. And that is protected under the law. No. Why? My dear students, even the names are protected. I'll give you a good number of examples. I'm sure all of you are familiar with Milkmaid. Condensed milk. Now this Milkmaid was Nestle's product. And you know, it's one of the most popular products in the sweet business. If you make payasam at home, now Vishu is coming day after tomorrow, I'm sure most houses will be having payasam and all of you will be using Milkmaid or condensed milk. So Milkmaid എന്ന പ്രോഡക്റ്റിന് അവരുടെ trademark എന്താ? Milkmaid. And that lady, they show that lady. Now, Amul company introduced their product. Similar. You know what name they gave? Mittai Maid. Milkmaid, Mittai Maid. Nestle went to court. They said, maid in the Kandal, definitely there will be confusion among the public. Instead of buying Milkmaid, they will buy Mittai Maid. It should be changed. The court ruled in their favor because they said Mittai Maid, the trademark, resembles the Milkmaid. Change it. So they changed it to Mittai Mate, M-A-T-E. Another good example, Lifebuoy, very popular soap. These days, you youngsters, I don't know how many of you play every evening. In my days, 3:30, my classes are over. 4 o'clock, I am in the Maharajas College ground or in the Darbar Hall ground. At that time, Darbar Hall ground was not like this. 4 to 6:30, we practice. I am a lover of cricket. 4 to 6:30, I would practice cricket. 2.5 hours. Then take my cycle, go back home. Reaching home, the first thing you know, we have a bath. And with what soap? Lifebuoy. At that time, Lifebuoy soap was very popular. And a bath with Lifebuoy soap was very refreshing. in the evenings. Now, equally refreshing soaps have come. Lifebuoy was very popular. Now, this Nirma company, they thought they will introduce some new product. They introduced the product Nirma Boy. Lifebuoy, Nirma Boy. Lifebuoy went to court and said, see, two things. One is Lifebuoy also had a reddish color, like Colgate reddish color in our background. Innippo Lifebuoy ishtambole varieties undu. Originally, our Lifebuoy red color under Sanoda. I don't know how many of you have seen it now. In the olden days, that was the most popular soap, especially the evening bath soap. Nirma Boy known. They went to court, nothing doing. Mati, they changed the name to Nirma Bath. So the name of the product, the emblem of the product is now protected by a law, which is another type of intellectual property. It's an intellectual property. Oru name develop it's not easy. Now, Suzuki, Maruti Suzuki has got that S. Then each car has got its own. Yeah, now all of you have started thinking those rings for some particular car. 4 rings, 5 rings, 6 rings, 7 rings. Then each now I know Benz. Adinde oru type of emblem. Only that car can use it. Benz board എഴുതാറില്ല പക്ഷെ നമ്മൾ ആ എംബ്ലം കണ്ടിട്ടോ അത് ബെൻസ് ആണല്ലോ എന്ന് നമ്മൾ പറയാറുണ്ട് അല്ലേ. ഞാൻ ഈ കുട്ടികളെടുത്താ പഠിച്ചത് കേട്ടോ. എനിക്കിപ്പോ ബെൻസ് കാർ കണ്ടാ എനിക്കിപ്പോഴും മനസ്സിലാവില്ല. ബട്ട് മൈ ചിൽഡ്രൻ, മൈ ഓൺ ചിൽഡ്രൻ, ദേ നോ ഇറ്റ്. അപ്പൊ ഇറ്റ്സ് എ ബെൻസ് കാർ കേട്ടോ. അവരെന്നെ പഠിപ്പിക്കും കളിയാക്കിക്കൊണ്ട്. That is so. Trademarks are another intellectual property. It's unique only for that particular firm. And finally, trade secrets. Every company has the right to maintain the secret of certain products which it feels should not be revealed. I'll give you an example. I'll clear out the comments now. Ippalത്തെ Coca-Cola alla. I'm talking of the Coca-Cola in the olden days. My dear students, in the 1970s, നിങ്ങൾ പറഞ്ഞാൽ വിശ്വസിക്കില്ല, രാജസ്ഥാനിലെ പല സിറ്റീസിലും they did not have rain for 5 years. 5 years. This was certified by our present DGP, Mr. Rishraj Singh, when he was Commissioner of Police here in Kochi. He was a very close associate of mine at that time. Now I don't know him. Now he may not remember me. Rishraj Singh told me, because he's from Rajasthan. He was telling me the difficulty. 5 years running, there was no rain. A 5-year-old child, Maya kandikya. But every child from the time it had some brain had seen Coca-Cola. Coke. That's how it used to be called. Even now, I think it's given the same name. Everybody used to use Coke. We used to say people in some of the cities of Rajasthan had not seen water or rain. I mean, they'd seen water, but no rain, but they had seen Coke. So good was their distribution system. The entire Coca-Cola machinery in India was so good that it was very effectively distributed. In 1977, India had a change in government. Congress party for the first time after 30 years lost the election. And a dispensation called the Janata Party came to power. Janata Party had the firebrand Industries Minister in George Fernandes. I'm sure many of you have heard him. He passed away recently. Now, George Fernandes made a study of all these things and found Coca-Cola was charging 1 rupee 50 paise at that time. I'm talking of 1977. 1 rupee 50 paise a bottle of Coca-Cola. That is 1 rupee 20 paise. Please note, 1 rupee 20 paise was its profit, company profit. And this was being sent to the US. Only 30 paise, that is dealer's commission, transport charges, refrigeration charges, 30 paise ചെലവാക്കണ്ടായിരുന്നു. 1 രൂപ 20 പൈസ ഓരോ കോക്ക് ബോട്ടിലിനും was going to the US. Fernandez was taken aback. He called the Coca-Cola company. I want to meet you. They came. Yes, sir. What can we do for you? At that time, the Coca-Cola company had its major plant in Agra. They said, he told him 2 things. 1, you have to give us your trade secret. We must know exactly how you are manufacturing Coca-Cola. They said, sorry, sir. It's not possible. Then he said, there's only a second option. Second option, leave the country. Leave the country. You know, he's the Industries Minister of India. He's the person who's to decide these things. Coca-Cola preferred to leave the country rather than remain in India at that time. And they came back after 14 years. 1991 liberalization തുടങ്ങിയതിന് ശേഷമാണ് Coca-Cola വീണ്ടും തിരിച്ചെത്തിയത്. For 14 years, we did not have Coca-Cola here. That is trade secret. Today, my dear students, after the coming of TRIPS, these trade secrets have been legalized. അന്ന് legalized ആയിരുന്നില്ല. അന്നൊരു കമ്പനി ട്രേഡ് സീക്രട്ട് തരണം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഗവൺമെന്റ് ചോദിച്ച് വാങ്ങിക്കാം. ആ അധികാരം ഗവൺമെന്റ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ആ അധികാരമാണ് അദ്ദേഹം ഉപയോഗിച്ചത്. Today it's not possible. A company has got every right to maintain its trade secret. How it is distributing a commodity, how it is manufacturing the commodity, how it is being assembled, that is its right. Since 1995, trade secrets have been made part of intellectual property rights. So a company now has a legal hold, can legally say that this particular secret is our own. Now, Amul, the way in which they are distributing their product. Go to Kanyakumari, Amul butter is available. I had occasion to go to Srinagar. Why Srinagar? Even beyond Srinagar, Gurez. Amul butter is available there also. Go to any part of the country, Amul butter is there. That's why you call it Amul, the taste of India. That is its trademark. And its trade secret is the manner in which it distributes it. Many people have been taken aback. How effectively Amul distributes the entire stock to every corner of the country. And it uses a multiple system. Don't think it is using one single system. Multiple systems are. It has got air. Now, for example, in Kerala, it is getting through air cargo. Air load ആണ് വരുന്നത് ഇവിടെ തമിഴ് മുഴുവനും. They come by air cargo by specialized containers to keep the temperature of the butter in such a way that it doesn't get spoiled. In Maharashtra, it goes in trucks all over Maharashtra, Rajasthan, and Madhya Pradesh. They go in trucks. Southern India, Eastern India, now for example, Calcutta, Guwahati, all those places, they are sending it by air cargo. See, this is but how they do it, we are not sure. That's their trade secret. So now, will Amul reveal it? No. If you ask Amul, can you reveal it? They'll say, we are now protected by TRIPS. Yes, my dears. It is TRIPS which has brought about a total change in the very idea of intellectual property rights. And I hope, my dear students, you were able to get a picture of what intellectual property rights are. There are 4: patents, copyrights, trademarks, and trade secrets. These are the four types of intellectual property. Of course, there are many, I want to say, subdivisions to these. That's different. We don't have to bother about the subdivisions. But a basic knowledge of property, if intellectual property means these are the four main things. Starting with patents. Patents is for physical items, commodities, those which can be seen. Copyrights are for those which can be felt. Education, music, dance, all those things are things which we can only feel and not we can't see. Because dance can be seen, but I'm saying it is more a feeling rather than a physical being. Yes, literary, educational, musical, and artistic are the things behind copyrights. Then trademarks, unique emblems, unique names, unique features, which are the property of that particular company. And finally, trade secrets, how the manufacturing takes place, how the distribution takes place, how a mechanism of safety takes place, all these things, trade secrets. Together they constitute IPR, and in the 21st century, all these four are important. They are extremely important. You'll all agree with me that these days property rights are important. What type of property rights? Intellectual property rights, providing us an incentive for getting new things done, providing us the necessary, I should say, desire for profit. Can even be a desire for profit. Yes, there is great dissemination of knowledge. A lot of knowledge gets created. A lot of information gets created thanks to intellectual property rights. Thank you. Amrita, I finished, my dear.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, the term of copyright for an author lasts for how long?
50 to 100 years after his death.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Let me call upon Aparna A for extending gratitude towards sir on behalf of teachers and students.
Good evening to all. It gives me an immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for this event to all dignitaries assembled here. I would like to thank our chief guest, Dr. N. Ajit Kumar, Professor and Research Supervisor of Amrita School of Arts and Science, who honored this program with his inspirational thoughts. I would like to thank our beloved principal, Department of Commerce, all coordinators, and last but not the least, our beloved audience for making this function as a grand success. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, yes. It was nice being with you. Amrita?
Thank you, sir, for spending your valuable time with us.
Okay, I hope it was useful, dear.